Single dad helped old neighbor every day, until the CEO who fired him opened the door instead. The morning that changed Rowan Mercer's life forever began like every other ordinary day, beneath a bright blue sky washed clean by the night's gentle rain. The neighborhood was quiet except for birds singing from the maple trees and the distant laughter of children walking toward school. Rowan balanced a paper bag filled with fresh bread, warm soup, and a small bouquet of wildflowers as he climbed the worn steps toward the little white house at the end of Maple Lane. For nearly 2 years, he had visited this home every morning without expecting anything in return. The lonely elderly woman who lived there had become like family after everyone else seemed to forget she existed. But on this unforgettable morning, someone else answered the door. The man standing there was the last person Rowan ever expected to see. It was the billionaire CEO who had destroyed his career with a single signature, the same man whose decision had left Rowan unemployed, humiliated, and struggling to raise his little daughter alone. Neither of them imagined that behind this ordinary front door waited a truth powerful enough to change both their lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe kindness always comes back in unexpected ways and everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, share it with your friends, leave a comment, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories like this. 3 years earlier, Rowan Mercer had been one of the most respected project supervisors at one of the city's largest engineering companies. He wasn't wealthy, but he loved his work because it allowed him to provide a stable life for his cheerful 7-year-old daughter, Hazel. Every evening he hurried home before sunset so they could eat dinner together, help with homework, and end the day watching the orange sky from their tiny apartment balcony. Their life wasn't perfect, but it was filled with warmth, laughter, and quiet happiness. Everything collapsed during a company restructuring. A costly project failed because of mistakes made by executives who refused to accept responsibility. Someone had to become the public example, and Rowan became the easiest target. Without a proper investigation, he was blamed for failures he had spent months trying to prevent. The final dismissal papers were approved by the company's new CEO, Victor Ashcombe, a businessman known for efficiency rather than compassion. Rowan never even had the opportunity to explain his side. One signature ended years of loyal service. Losing his job was only the beginning. Savings disappeared faster than he expected. Bills piled up. Friends from work slowly stopped calling, afraid that staying close to him might hurt their own careers. Rowan accepted temporary construction jobs, warehouse shifts, landscaping work, and anything else that paid enough to keep food on the table. Every exhausting day ended with him smiling for Hazel because he refused to let his little girl believe that hope had disappeared from their lives. One bright Saturday morning, while delivering groceries for extra income, Rowan noticed an elderly woman struggling to carry heavy shopping bags across the street. Cars rushed past without slowing down. Without hesitation, Rowan parked his bicycle and helped her safely reach her small white house. Her name was Miriam Holloway. She thanked him with tears in her eyes, explaining that arthritis had made even simple tasks painfully difficult. She had no children nearby, and most neighbors were simply too busy to notice. From that day forward, helping Miriam became part of Rowan's routine. Before work each morning, he checked her mailbox, watered her flowers, repaired broken fences, changed light bulbs, collected medicine, and shared breakfast whenever he had enough to spare. Hazel often came along, filling the quiet home with cheerful conversations and childish laughter that Miriam hadn't heard in decades. The lonely house slowly felt alive again. Months turned into years. Rowan never accepted money. He believed kindness lost its meaning once it came with a price tag. Miriam insisted on giving him homemade cookies or knitted scarves, but Rowan always smiled and said seeing her happy was enough. Unknown to Rowan, Miriam kept detailed journals every evening. She wrote about every act of kindness, every repair Rowan completed, every sacrifice he made despite having almost nothing himself. She described Hazel's gentle heart and Rowan's unwavering determination to remain honest in a world that had treated him unfairly. Those journals became her greatest treasure. Then one spring afternoon Miriam suddenly disappeared from her front porch. Rowan rushed inside after noticing newspapers piling up untouched. A neighbor informed him she had been admitted to the hospital after collapsing from exhaustion. Rowan visited daily despite juggling multiple jobs and caring for Hazel. Weeks later Miriam returned home weaker than before. Her eyesight faded, and walking became increasingly difficult. Rowan quietly took over even more responsibilities. He never complained. Every morning sunlight found him fixing something around the house before heading to work. Then came that unforgettable Tuesday. The sunshine painted golden patterns across Maple Lane as Rowan carried breakfast toward Miriam's front porch. He expected her gentle smile. Instead, the door slowly opened. Standing there was Victor Ashcombe. The billionaire CEO looked older than Rowan remembered. His expensive suit couldn't hide the exhaustion beneath his eyes. For several long seconds neither man spoke. Rowan's heart pounded as painful memories flooded back. Victor recognized him immediately, and surprise spread across his face. Neither understood why fate had brought them together inside the same quiet house. Victor eventually explained that Miriam Holloway was his grandmother. The word struck Rowan harder than any insult ever had. Victor admitted he had spent most of his adult life building his business empire while convincing himself that success required endless sacrifice. Visits became phone calls. Phone calls became holiday cards. Holiday cards eventually became silence. He believed expensive gifts could replace presents. Only after doctors warned that Miriam's health was rapidly declining did guilt finally bring him back. As Victor explored the home, he noticed countless repairs completed with remarkable care. Fresh flowers decorated every room. Shelves stood perfectly restored. The garden bloomed beautifully despite Miriam's condition. Family photographs now included Rowan and Hazel alongside Miriam, smiling during birthdays, picnics, and Christmas celebrations. Victor couldn't understand who had done all this. When Miriam slowly emerged from the hallway, she embraced Rowan before even noticing her grandson standing nearby. That simple moment silently answered every question. Later that afternoon, while Miriam rested, Victor wandered through her study and discovered stacks of handwritten journals. Curiosity led him to open the first notebook. Page after page described Rowan's kindness. She wrote about the freezing winter morning Rowan repaired her broken heater before going to work soaked from the snow. She wrote about Hazel reading books aloud because Miriam's eyesight had weakened. She wrote about Rowan secretly paying for medicine after pretending the pharmacy had offered a discount. She wrote about birthdays celebrated together because neither Rowan nor Miriam had remaining family nearby. Victor read for hours. Then he reached the final journal. The last page shattered everything he believed about success. Miriam had written that wealth could build skyscrapers but never replace a loving heart. She admitted her greatest regret wasn't growing old. It was realizing that the stranger who owed her nothing became the son she always wished life had given her, while the grandson she loved had become too busy chasing achievements to notice she was growing lonely. Victor quietly closed the journal with trembling hands. For the first time in years, tears rolled freely down the face of the powerful executive feared by thousands of employees. That evening he drove away without saying much. Rowan assumed he would never see him again. 3 days later, an unfamiliar black car stopped outside Rowan's apartment building. Victor personally stepped out. Instead of bringing lawyers or business proposals, he carried a weathered cardboard box filled with Miriam's journals. He admitted he had reread every page several times and realized the greatest failure of his career wasn't making difficult business decisions. It was forgetting that every employee represented a family, a dream, and a human life. After reviewing Rowan's dismissal, Victor discovered internal investigations had indeed proven Rowan innocent shortly after the restructuring. Several executives had hidden evidence to protect themselves. The truth never reached his desk. Victor publicly dismissed everyone responsible. Then he offered Rowan something completely unexpected. Not merely his old position. A leadership role overseeing an entirely new employee care division designed to ensure no worker would ever again lose everything because powerful people refused accountability. Rowan accepted only after one condition. The company would create emergency support programs for struggling employees and single parents. Victor agreed immediately. Within months the organization introduced childcare assistance, mental health counseling, emergency financial grants, and transparent investigation policies. Employee morale transformed dramatically because compassion finally became part of company culture. Miriam lived long enough to witness those changes. Every sunny afternoon she watched Rowan and Hazel laughing in her blooming garden while Victor joined them instead of answering business calls. Her greatest wish had quietly come true. She hadn't reunited strangers through money. She had reunited hearts through kindness. Years later, after Miriam peacefully passed away, hundreds attended her memorial service. Business leaders stood beside construction workers, teachers, nurses, and neighbors. Many had never met each other before. Yet every one of them carried a story about someone whose life had been changed because one elderly woman inspired others to value compassion over pride. Rowan often returned to the little white house, now preserved exactly as Miriam loved it. The flowers still bloomed each spring. Birds still gathered beneath the maple trees every morning. Whenever people asked how one act of kindness could transform so many lives, Rowan simply smiled at the front porch where everything had begun. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness can change lives in ways we never expect, please like this video, share it with someone you love, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire for more emotional stories that inspire hope. Special request, please comment below and tell us, what is the kindest thing a stranger has ever done for you? Your story may inspire someone else today. Because in the brightest daylight, when the world seems ordinary, the smallest act of compassion can open a door to a miracle that changes lives forever.